Hello, everybody. Today, let's get cracking my whip. Before I start, I want to explain what I'm going through with the podcast. Since I really don't have any software for podcast, I'm using a movie software, a movie making software. And in order to do that, I'm learning how to use it in a different way than what I normally do when I record for the horses and do videos. I've been experimenting, and I'm going to start working on taking and adding pictures and videos of the horses and the dogs and whatever else I'm talking about if I have pictures. And I'm also going to try maybe putting short snippets of videos. I've decided that I needed to change the color every day of the heading of the podcast so you don't get them confused. They are numbered. But that's my public service announcement for the day. So if you have any ideas that are helpful or suggestions, let me know, because one of the suggestions I got was it was hard to tell day one from day two except from a small little podcast thing. Okay, my subject for today is my hounds. Well, in reality, they're my dog family. We don't treat them like hounds or even really dogs for that fact. And I want to explain where we live. We have 40 acres, which includes our house and the barn and the rescue area. And it's surrounded by 1,000 acres of state land. So we're fairly isolated where we live. And the dogs go to the barn with me most every day. We don't take them down there with a blacksmith. I don't want them eating the horse feet and getting sick. But they go down there pretty much every day. Some of my smaller ones are the ones that get cold real easy. Don't go until we bring the heater out when it gets cold outside. But most of the time they're with me, and it's a chore to get outside. Mark has to help me. The dogs are all anxious. They want to go, and they get excited, and they would kind of fight. So I ended up putting them in the truck and driving them down to the barn and driving them back so we don't have that where we walk for several minutes and they're fighting. It just gets to be too much for me. So the dogs have pretty well got me trained. They get in one door, they know which door they get in, and they ride down to the barn, which, believe me, is not far. We have several dogs. We have a couple Great Danes, we have a Jack Russell, we have a Doberman, I have a Yorkie, and they're all different sizes, and they have been over the years. I've had several different breeds of dogs. And fairly recently, Jason noticed that a raccoon was coming in our garage on the nights we didn't shut the doors. So we decided that we would trap it and then haul it off somewhere else, because I don't like anything to really die. So Jason put up a trap with some kind of smelly cat food, and of course it didn't work. We didn't catch a raccoon. I don't know if it was just visiting or whether he just had better taste than smelly cat food. And Jason went off working at a show with Howie Schatzberg, and he was not here. And I let the dogs out, and it was kind of a stormy little bit of a day. And I let them all come back in, and everyone came in but Snickers, my little white Jack Russell. And I started calling, and since we're surrounded by state land, there's bears that come down, and there's coyotes, and there's fox, and there's bobcat. And the bears have actually come around the house, and you see them once in a while, not too much. But my dog was missing. So I started calling, and she didn't come. And this is a dog that usually, she's glued to me. She's attached. And so I ended up calling the guys that work for us, and they came out, and they walked through the big pasture that we had fenced off for the dogs, so they really couldn't go up in the woods. And they went all on the fence line, all around the pasture, everything. They couldn't find her. They came back, and by this time, I'm hysterical. I am convinced that a coyote or a bear has gotten my dog because she doesn't always know that she doesn't weigh very much, and that she might have gone up and seen one and confronted it. And I'm hysterical, and I'm not pretty crying. I am sobbing. And for a few of you that have seen me do that, it's hysterical. This is it, the end of the world. So Mark went out, they drove up and down, they called, went up and down the driveway, which is about a half a mile long, with the truck, thinking she'd hear that. And after about 15 minutes of me thinking, this is going to be horrible, how am I going to survive this? I've lost a dog that is glued to me. And I didn't do anything wrong. Mark comes in and he goes, I guess you'll never guess what we caught. And I said, what? And he goes, in between my sobbing, I wasn't that what? It was, what? And he brings in, and I'm still hysterical. He said, and he comes in with this cage, and he goes, I caught a white raccoon. And I'm thinking, why is he bringing this white raccoon, I don't care if it is white, into our house? It's a wild animal, and he's bringing it in. And I finally looked up, and it finally processed that the white raccoon was my dog Snickers. She had gone out to get herself a little cat food, had gone in the cage, and then proceeded to sit there, maybe realized she might be in trouble, and wouldn't make a peep when we called. It was just horrible. And I sobbed after that for a few minutes, and it was relieving to have her back. Even though I had the dog back, it took me 10 minutes to stop being hysterical. I was relieved. I was heartbroken. I was not heartbroken. I was happy. And during that time, Jason called. And he could tell something was wrong, and he asked, what's wrong with you? And I said, oh, we lost Snickers. I couldn't find her anywhere. And before I went any further, Jason goes, did you check the trap out in front of the garage? And it was like, oh, that would have saved us a lot of issue if we'd just done that first. So needless to say, the trap is gone. The best story of my dogs, probably will never top this, is when I let all the dogs out again we have a fenced-in yard, kind of pasture area, and it was winter, and there was quite a lot of snow in the area, and it had ice on top of that. And of course, the dogs never stay out long, and they wanted to come in. We let them in, and I look around, and there's no Pepper. And Pepper was Jessie's little Yorkie that she had when she was in high school or junior high, and he was missing. Now, that's not totally surprising because sometimes he'd wander around and come in another door, but he always let us know where he was. So I went to the kitchen door, he wasn't there, called and called and called, no Pepper. I went around to the front door, we opened the garage, went back outside, couldn't find him. So finally, Mark goes, I'll just go out and see if I see him. And Mark steps out on the deck, and he sees something out on the snow. And he goes, look at this. Do you think that's Pepper? And I came out, and I looked, and there was a dark mass laying on the snow. And I thought, oh, my God, Pepper's dead. He's out there. He's dead. He was older, and I worried about him, but I didn't think he'd just die like that. And so Mark started to go out, and he's got a bad knee that needed surgery and still does. And he went out and stepped into that snow and got about 2 big steps out there. And it was about up to his knees, and he couldn't walk anymore. He couldn't, with his bad knee, he couldn't. So I thought, oh, I'll go out and help him. And I thought, well, no, I'm just as bad. I'll get stuck before I even get to him. So he turned around, and I kind of grabbed his hand a little bit when he needed it and helped him. He got in, but Pepper was still laying out in the yard, not moving. So I get on the phone, which Jason loves because I'm in the house and he's upstairs in his room. And I call him and I said, I need you to come down. We think we found Pepper and we think he's dead out in the yard. So Jason comes downstairs and he has his boots on. And he goes out in that snow, and it's really hard to get out in that yard because it was almost up to his knees. And he gets out there, and he's out pretty far away, but I can still see him. And he picks up something on the ground, and he holds it up, and it was stiff. And he goes, is this who you think is Pepper? Is this what you were talking about? And I went, yes, it is. What is it? I mean, is it Pepper? He goes, no, Mom. It's Mark's underwear. One of our dogs had taken Mark's underwear outside and then dropped it, and it froze. So it looked like he was holding black underwear flag out in the yard, and Pepper miraculously showed up at the kitchen door where I was before and was wondering what the heck everybody was all upset about because he was right there wanting in, and how dare us not let him in when he wanted in. Jason's probably ready to kill us. He's living now with old people and everything weird. We send Jason out, and Pepper was fine and didn't have any more problems. There was just our imagination running wild with us. I want to thank everyone for tuning in and listening to my stories, whether they're odd or happy or sad. And we'll continue doing this. If you have any suggestions, I'm going to take one from Liz Kinney and change the look of the front of the page. But if you have any suggestions, let me know. And I really enjoy doing this. Talk to you later.